Opened in 1988, Willowbend was designed by Michael Hurdson. The Cape Cod Club features 27 holes. Here, we'll take you through the bay and bog course routing, which will be used for the 2024 Massachusetts Open. At just a hair over 500 yards, this opening par 5 provides a golden opportunity to dip into red figures right out of the gate. The ideal tee shot would fly right of the tree that stands in the center of the fairway, with a touch of left to right curve to find the bottlenecked short grass. Anything left of the tree will flirt with the water hazard. The corridor approaching the green is fairly narrow, so players who are laying up should be deliberate when plotting the positioning of their third. Those with an opportunity to attack the green in 2 will be required to carry another pawn that fronts the green, likely with a long iron in hand. The safe miss would be right of this long, narrow green, but a left greenside bunker will save a few disaster bounce shots. Danger lurks everywhere on this demanding tee shot. Water guards the entire left side of the hole, while another hazard through the fairway on the right could be in play for longer hitters. A prudent tee shot would be something less than driver, directly at the center small tree on the far side of the fairway. From the wide part of the fairway, players should be able to go on the offensive, with a relatively short approach into the large green, which is only guarded by water on the left side. Permission for liftoff on the driveable third. At less than 300 yards, many of the players will be thinking birdie or better. A smattering of bunkers guard the entrance to the green, and a steep slope on the right side would love nothing more than to kick a ball into the pond on the right. But there's arguably more trouble in the layup zone, so we should see plenty of big head covers coming off, and perhaps even a few big birds on the scorecard. After a few vulnerable opening holes, the golf course punches back on the long, narrow fourth. With trees lining both sides of the fairway, the players must thread the needle with a drive that works from right to left. From the tee, the bailout appears to be up the right side, but those that find the right rough will be greeted with low, overhanging branches, forcing a demanding, well-shaped approach shot. Depending on the wind, players that find the fairway still contend with a difficult second, hitting into a small green with a mid to long iron in hand. It's no easy bargain. Par is a good score on this long par 3. Playing to the left half of the green is sensible as a deep bunker pushes up against the front right. Hunting a right hole location would be a fool's errand, as being short-sided here could spell bogey or worse. This 90-degree dogleg left calls for a hard-turning right-to-left tee shot with something less than driver. Rounding the corner feels a bit like the last leg of a hike when you suddenly emerge from the trees and find yourself confronted with a stunning vantage point. Here, the blue water of Simon's Narrows is visible behind the green. It makes for the most picturesque approach shot on the property, but it is by no means the easiest. 4 bunkers surround the putting surface, and anything long risks crossing into the hazard. Correctly gauging the wind is crucial on this shortish par 3, which plays even shorter than the yardage going down the hill. The player may rue the front right bunker for swallowing anything on the short side, but they'll be thanking the back bunkers for catching the long and left ball, with penalty stakes lining the bottom of a downslope. Though it measures in at just 278 yards as the crow flies from tee to green, attempting to drive the dogleg right eighth carries quite a bit of risk. The tee ball would have to fly every bit of 265 yards to clear the dense woods, and even then, one last lone tree and a deep bunker stand as a final deterrent. Oh, and anything long and left brings out of bounds into the picture. A long iron to the wide portion of the fairway sets up a short wedge shot and tamps down the risk of a big number on this small hole. The downhill tee shot on this difficult par 4 demands precision, as the right to left bending fairway is rather narrow. Anything pushed into the right pine straw will create a dicey second, with punch shots complicated by the cranberry bog that lines the left side of the hole. The bog hints at what's to come on the second 9. A pair of potentially penalty-saving bunkers frame the left side of the long and narrow green. It really doesn't get much more Cape Cod than this. There's plenty to catch your attention from the tee on the back 9 opener, with a tree towering over the right side of the fairway 257 yards out, and water abruptly cutting off the fairway at around 295. Something in the 280 range up the left side will set up a wedge into a green that's nearly 40 yards long, sloping steeply from back to front, sliding down 3 separate tiers. A hole location on the front tier, mixed with some swirling winds, could make things interesting, bringing the water directly into play for mishit or misjudged wedges. The well-guarded par 3 11 plays quite differently depending on which of the 2 tiers the hole is located on. Anything long will demand a delicate recovery, and it's short enough that players will be wary of spinning their ball down the sloped front edge towards a watery grave. A well-struck drive moving from left to right, away from the fairway bunkers, will leave just a wedge in. Standing on the tee, the hole appears a bit tighter than many of the others at Willowbend, but a funnel-shaped fairway will help keep balls on the straight and narrow. The green is guarded by water on the left and traps on the right, but that shouldn't deter players who have found the short grass from getting aggressive. This is a birdie opportunity. The 13th may appear benign, but there's just enough trouble right around the landing area off the tee to make a player uncomfortable, with a 267-yard carry required to get past the water on the left and 272 yards to reach the fairway bunker on the right. The second shot plays a bit uphill, which is an unfamiliar ask at Willowbend. In fact, it is the first approach shot of the round that requires the player to add some yardage due to elevation change. The kidney bean-shaped green slopes down from the back left corner towards a false front and deep green side bunker. There's undoubtedly a lot going on at the 14th. A grassy amphitheater, cranberry bogs, the quaint blood-red barn. But this severely downhill one-shotter demands focus. Wind is generally a serious factor here, and uncommitted swings can yield troublesome results. Parachute one onto the surface, 2-putt for par, and keep it moving. 15 is perhaps the hardest hole on property, asking the players some uncomfortable questions. The downhill drive offers some risk-reward. It's 300 yards to clear the last bunker on the right, but the farther up the right side of the fairway you are, the shorter the second shot will be. This one truly favors the bombers. The approach over the cranberry bog is to a funky green which is shaped like a bicycle seat and pitches severely from back to front. Only a small sliver of run-up space for the long approach is afforded on the right. A flag on the left side would barely be accessible, but a hole location on the top shelf is so demanding it would make Mike Davis blush. Like 15, the 16th asks players to hop from lily pad to lily pad over hazards. A handsome stream snakes its way across this hole, giving it a different look from the other hazards on property. The rugged, rocky current has an old New England idyllic feel, but players ought not let the serene setting lull them into a passive state. It's 215 to carry the nearest point of the second fairway, but anything pulled left is a goner, and a fairway bunker awaits drives that roll out to 270. The stream runs up the front and left side of a small green, but with a wedge in hand it's time to go pin hunting. Just do be careful, the green slopes down towards the water. 17 measures in at just 309 yards, but with water pinching in from the left, the risk of hitting driver hardly seems worth the reward. This is another instance where the approach shot needs to be carefully plotted and the setup well executed. While the aerial view here shows a rather large landing area, standing on the tee, all the golfer sees is water, water, and more water. Those who allow a sliver of doubt to enter their mind can be baited into a swim, while those who hit the proper tee ball are rewarded with a clean look, wedge in hand, ears pinned back. At this point, it's been a long time since the players have seen a par 5, in fact not since the first hole, and boy is it a sight for sore eyes. The green light is flashing. Players will want to stay left of the tree in the fairway, ideally working the ball from right to left to cover the bunkers that end at 257 yards out, and cutting off a good chunk of the dogleg. A good drive can leave as little as a mid-iron into the island green. A layup by no means rules out birdie, as the angle from the fairway offers an open look at every corner of this green. 3 greenside bunkers are a welcome sight, ready to catch approaches that fail to dot the putting surface. This green site offers a proper stage for triumph, but could also spell disaster if not attacked with conviction. And that concludes our hole-by-hole tour of Willowbend. Thank you for watching.